Hello and welcome back to Cello from the Beginning. We're in our second regular lesson on Winter Hymn. So if you've just found this one, you'll want to go back to the intro lesson and then the first regular lesson, Winter Hymn 1, because we're now up to measure 9, and we're going to be doing the middle and final sections of Winter Hymn. So the middle section will be very, very easy for you. This begins at measure 9. And it goes like this. That's it, all quarter notes. No difficulties there at all rhythmically. We just keep playing quarter notes. And we hardly have any note changes. We have 4 different notes in the whole section. So we begin with our open D with 2 bars of quarter note open Ds. But there's one important thing we have to do here. Remember we talked about what the symbol means below these bars. It's a crescendo. It means we're going to get gradually louder. So we're beginning at our mezzo piano dynamic, and by the end of that second bar of open Ds, we want to be basically up to our forte dynamic. So it sounds something like this. How do I do that? How do I execute that? Well, mostly I'm going to do it by increasing my bow weight or pressure. So we're beginning, I'm not using much extra pressure at all. I'm really just using the weight of the bow and the string for a nice quiet bow. As I want to get louder, I'm going to start to lean into that bow a little bit. A lean in here, so you can see lean in, and then as I'm drawing a down bow, I'm leaning into that first finger. So for a louder sound, there's kind of where I want to end up. So starting out quietly, gradually getting louder. That's the technique for that. Then we go to 4th finger on the A, the high D, and we're at forte now. So nice long bows, big strong sound. So again, 2 measures of the same note. 2 measures of open D, then 2 measures of 4th finger on the A string high D. Then we have 1 measure of open A, and then 1 measure of 1st finger on the D string, our E on the D. And we have to do something in this set of measures too. These 2 measures also have a dynamic change indication, but it's the decrescendo. So we're getting gradually softer. So we start out at a forte dynamic with our open A. We do the opposite of what we did before. We lower our pressure, maybe reduce the amount of bow that we're using. And there's one other thing that happens here. Remember we talked in our intro lesson about the symbol RIT, the text symbol above measure 14, above the first fingers on the D. Ritardando, which means to get slower. So we're also changing dynamic, we're getting softer, and we're changing speed or tempo, we're getting slower. So these 2 measures, accomplishing both of those things, we begin with the open A, start getting softer, also start getting slower. All right, and then it'll go on. So let's do those 6 bars now. Very straightforward. Go ahead and find your 4th finger on the A. Make sure we're in tune there. And we're ready. So from measure 9, open Ds. 1, 2, ready, and D. Get louder. A4. Open A. Get softer. D1. Get slower. right, how'd you do? If you've got that down, then you're ready to go on with the rest of the video. If you had any troubles there, then I would just say pause, practice this until you can play along at tempo, executing the dynamic and tempo changes. All right, let's look at this final section of the piece. So this is beginning with bar 15. I'm just going to play a little bit here, see if it sounds familiar. Should sound very familiar. It is the same as the beginning of the piece. It is the same as the beginning of the second line or measure 5. So for 3 measures, we have something identical to what we've had before, what you've already learned. A4, 3, 1, 4, A. String crossing D3, 3, 4, A. So up to this point, the notes and the rhythms are the same. Now listen to what happens beginning at bar 18. Here's an interesting thing. The fingering is the same as the end of the second line. 3, 3, 4, 1, 1, right? We've had that figure before. But what have we changed? We've changed the length of the notes. They're twice as long as they were before. So instead of quarter, 2/8, quarter, quarter, 1, 2, and 3, 4, we have half, 2 quarters, half, half. So we've doubled those notes. This is a way of making a piece slow down, but using note length or meter to do it, rather than adjusting the tempo. So we're not changing the beat. The beat is still here. We're doubling the length of these notes in this figure that we're already familiar with. This is a very common compositional technique, and it makes it suddenly slower or sound slower to the ear. You can hear it. There's something almost grand about that approach, because you're when you gradually slow down, you feel like the piece is coming to the halt the way you would if you were coasting to the end. This has a more deliberative feel, a very purposeful, intentional feel, like I'm really coming to the end now. So it's the same fingering. 3, 3, 4, 1, 1. All you have to do is make sure that you're counting these note lengths. So we get there, and I believe it starts with an up bow. Half note D3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's if I'm counting the rhythm. I'll give you the notes now. Ready, and 3, 3, 4, 1, 1. All right, what you're gonna maybe want to do is play that too fast. You're going to want to do the tempo, the speed of the notes that you're already familiar with, the quarter, 2/8, quarter, quarter. So you have to really have that steady beat in your head and remember when you get to this spot, okay, this is a real change. It's very exact. It's not a guessing sort of a thing where you're trying to figure out how much slow you're going to play. It's very specific. So let's do this first 2 bars of the last line, or measure 17 and 18. So we feel that change. So I'll play it for you once. Okay, let's try it together. 1, 2, ready, and 3, 3, 4, A, 3, 3, 4, 1, 1. All right, That's an important thing to practice and to feel as much as it is to practice. And then finally, the very ending is very simple. We play D, D, rest, rest, D, D, rest, rest, D, and let the bow come off. And when you play with the backing track in the next video or the accompaniment, you'll hear that something's happening there in the piano. So you have 2 notes. The piano has some figures during your rests. You have 2 notes. The piano has some figures, and then you end together. So just make sure you're feeling that. D, D, rest, rest, D, D, rest, rest, D, and off. And it doesn't really matter exactly how long the last note is because you're going to take the bow off the string and it's going to ring. You can play it a little longer. You can play it closer to 3 beats. I wouldn't go all the way to 4 because you want the sound to be able to die and fade away. All right, so let's play together from bar 15 to the end. So this is where it's like the beginning, and then we'll play from there to from the A tempo. So we start with 4 on the A. 1, 2, ready, and 4, 3, 1, 4, A, 3, 3, 4, A. Here's our long notes. 3, 3, 4, 1, 1, D, D, rest, rest, D, D, rest, rest, D, off, and just let the sound disappear. Okay, I hope you're enjoying Winter Hymn. What I think we'll do now is I will play through it from beginning to end without calling out the note names, just as a play-along reference track for you. When you can play along with me comfortably and easily, then you'll be ready to go to the next video and play along with the actual backing track. So we find our left hand here. Make sure we've got our D in tune. 1, 2, ready, and... We'll see you next time. Thanks for playing.